Hey yogis, I'm Jade Ocean. Today I'm going to take you through a soft, gentle yin style yoga. So we're just going to be hitting a few poses, but holding them for a longer period of time. So about 3 minutes or so. We're going to hit the psoas area. So the front hip flexors, the psoas runs actually in the front of the hip and then runs all the way up and connects to the lower back. But we're going to be getting the front hip flexor area. So front hip flexors and quads and a little bit of the hip area. So it's going to help with lower back pain since the psoas runs up through the lower back. It's going to help relieve a lot of tension. The psoas is known as the muscle of the soul. So it's known that if you have tight psoas or hip flexor area muscles, that you tend to have a lot of bent upness throughout the body. So meaning backed up digestion, feelings, energy. You just feel maybe gloomy, sad, frustrated, like your body's not functioning right. So there's all these different things related to negative things related to having a tight psoas, and it could happen from pretty much anything, sitting for a long time, and other things could affect it as well. So anyways, we're going to tap into that today, just release it for a little bit, and hopefully it feels a little bit better. This is something you want to do consistently, not just one time, but you might want to hit this video, a few times a week if possible. I know it could be a little bit intense doing yin yoga and it takes a while, but believe me, it's totally worth it. You'll reap the benefits. So make sure that you have definitely a bolster, really thick pillow for today. We're going to use that. And then also a thick blanket. So lots of padding today. Thick blanket, couple of blocks, and then also a strap or a rope. So you can use that as well to go a little bit deeper into these yin poses. So that way then we can really release these tensions within the body. We're going to also focus on relieving some stress in the mind as well. So learning how to let go a little bit. And what does that mean? Okay, so grab your stuff. Make sure you have water too, and I'll meet you on your mat. All right, you guys, so let's start. Actually, we're going to start in a Supta Virasana, so a reclining hero's pose. So let me show you how to do that. I have this blanket here for River because she's being really needy today. She keeps coming in front of me, so that's hopefully she'll go lay down there. So that's what this blanket's for. But let me show you how to set up the Supta Virasana. And this is going to really open the quads up, so we can release the tension in there, because when we go into the psoas area in the front hip flexors, it's nice when the quads are not tightening up so much on us. So let's start there and then just get into our heads a little bit and see how our breathing is. Grab your 2 blocks. And you could do a couple of things. You can grab your 2 blocks and then you can come elevated up, which I'm going to show you how to do this, or you can just have your bolster behind you and then relax down onto the bolster. So let me show you how to do this way. One tall at the top of the mat, one's going to be on its flat setting, or you can actually, well, let's do flat setting. That's a little bit better for the bolster. And then we're just going to lay the bolster right on top, just like this. So you could also, like I said, you could also just do it with just the bolster and lay back on the bolster. So that's also really nice. I just want you to be comfortable right now, so whatever that means. Okay, I'm going to start elevated, so you can watch me do this, and ta-da, I'm right there. Okay, so we're going to come in front of the bolster. We're going to be on our knees out to the side, about hips distance. Our feet are coming out, so our shins and our feet are coming out to the side. Toes are pointed back. If you'd like, you can also, too, here, grab your blanket and sit on top of your blanket. So let me show you what that looks like, because that's kind of nice as well. So I'm just going to lay my blanket flat, and then I'm just going to come right on top of it. Just like that. Make sure your bolster's secure, and we're just going to lay all the way back. So nice and hopefully comfortable. Hopefully this feels good for you. You can have your hands just out to the side. You can bring them to your belly. You can have them wherever feels comfortable for you. And let's just start to check in with our breath right now. So how's your breath doing? Take a few breaths here just to start naturally without forcing it, and just check in with the quality. Does it seem a little bit shallow? Do you feel a little out of breath maybe from setting up your bolster? And just noticing where it's at right now. Make sure you tuck your tailbone underneath a little bit. You're not putting a lot of pressure in the lower back here. So just pulling that tailbone under. You'll notice a little stretch in the quads, right, the front thighs when you do that. And that's okay. We just want to make sure we're not putting pressure in the lower back. And letting the face be soft here. Making sure we have space in our neck, so maybe just pulling the shoulders back. So shoulder blades coming, wrapping behind you, tucking underneath the bolster, draw those shoulders down, and then just let it hang. Just let everything hang out here. We want to find some comfort, some stillness here. No clenching. Let your jaw be heavy. What's going on with your mind right now? Do you notice a lot of things popping up? Are there a lot of thoughts? Maybe the to-do list or what I did list is still lingering. Just notice it, just see it there. It's okay. We're gonna try to just notice it. We're not gonna grasp onto it or try to hang on to that right now. We're just gonna give this practice a chance to let everything just kind of drift by right now. So let's practice that letting go sensation in the body, and then that letting go in the mind, which could be the hardest thing. So let's start with the body. Let's just check in with our body. We're still holding any tightness. Generally, it's in the face. You'd be amazed at all the tensions in the face that we carry throughout the day, even at night. So our face is constantly just always clenching in some sense. Usually it's the jaw, sometimes that third eye, so between the eyebrows, just noticing, even the eyes. And it could be hard to feel for it, but just imagine, see if you can feel the eyes getting a little bit heavier here. The eye sockets feel light. The eyebrows just release. And this is going to take some time, and it's going to probably keep happening, and guess what? That's okay. That's just inevitable. It's going to happen. We're not here to judge it. We're not here to get upset. That sends a trail reaction of new things to get tense. So just noticing and seeing what we could do to create that space there, to create some flush within that area. So let's take a breath in through the nose, and letting that breath come down to your belly. Seeing if you could feel your belly raising up, even without your hands on it. Maybe you find an ujjayi breath just to create a soft, subtle noise. So ujjayi is just a little soft restriction in the back of the throat, creating a little audible, so a little soft noise. Kind of sounds like the ocean, which I love. And it's nice because it creates this focal point of presence. So it just kind of draws you back to focusing on some clarity, not letting your mind drift away and hang on and clench onto stuff. Just a little reminder. Again, take another full inhale in and exhale. See if you can soften anywhere. So let's think of the inhale as sort of that attentiveness to anywhere you notice that may have a little tension left. Clenching, gripping. Just use the inhale to find that. See if you can breathe into that area and draw that breath right down to that spot. And maybe it's right there. Maybe it's in the throat. Maybe it's in the eyes still. Maybe the knees, the fingers. And then let the exhale be that permission of detoxifying those tensions, so releasing, right? We're just going to let it go right now. So noticing it and allowing it to just relax. See if you can let it just settle. Maybe there's some thoughts still popping up, and that's okay. Again, we're just going to notice it. ignoring it. When we ignore things, it never goes away. Sometimes that makes it worse. So we just want to identify that it's there and allow it to just pass by. All we can control is how we react to it. So remembering our breath, and if we have that ujjayi breath, again, it's helpful, we can hear it. So coming back to the breath, because we all have to breathe, and allowing it to pass on its own. We're not pushing it, we're not going to try to blow it away, we're not going to kick it away, we're just going to let it pass by, not letting ourselves grab at it. And it may be the same things popping up over and over, and that's okay again. That's just the way life goes, right? It's almost impossible to not think of things, so maybe work on how we react to that thought and what can we do about that thing that keeps popping up. So if our body's tight right now in certain areas, can we walk away from it? No, not right now. Can we ignore it? No. Can we maybe try to relax it? Yeah. Can we try to think of just letting go a little bit and not being so wrapped up in that tension, not judging it, not getting angry about it? Yeah, we could do that. Same thing with the thoughts that come up. We get so wrapped up in life, thinking and doing and always processing, and it just gets so overwhelming. Even when it's happy stuff, it's just always something going on. Emotions can just feel like a heavy load on us. And it could be things that we love or things that we hate, just that constant wheel that's always spinning. It almost feels like a net that just is so full of stuff, there's no room for anything else to come in. Or almost like a crowded store. So imagine you have this grocery store and there's so many people in there and it's so crowded, there's not even room for anyone else to come in. Even the good things to come in. You have no room for any inventory, there's nothing. So instead of forcing these people out, which are not bad people, they're just there, maybe just leaving and waiting for them to leave. Maybe go sit up on a hill and just watch the cars go by. Not ignoring them as they drive by, just watching them. Not getting wrapped up in the whys or you have to say goodbye to them or how long are they going to be gone. Just letting them go. Noticing your store becomes a little less full. And pretty soon there's so much more room and now you can go in there and do whatever you need to in there. There's room for maybe new people, new inventory, maybe room to clean. Just imagine this as your thoughts. In your head it's like the store, and these thoughts are like the people. Even if they're good thoughts, it's okay to have those thoughts. We want them there, but to be a heavy load all the time is not good. Take one more full breath in, and then exhale. Again, checking in with your body. Okay. So let's carefully just crawl our ways back up. We're going to come out of this virasana, this laying back pose here, and then let's set up for our next pose. So let's bring our bolster to the mat. Let's move our blocks out of the way here. Probably don't need them too much, but maybe. So just bring them to the front of the mat here. See River laid down. I knew it, although you can't see her. But so we're going to switch with our bolster and our blanket. So I'm going to put my bolster where my blanket is, which is in the middle here if you used it If not, then just place your bolster right here in the middle. And then we're gonna come down with our thighs on top of the bolster. So if you're doing this and you're pregnant, you could do this because the bolster creates space, right? However, you may need to modify and lift your baby up if you're pregnant. If not, then still we're gonna have to engage the belly a little bit here, but let me show you. With your strap, make sure too that you have your strap in a loop just in case we need it. So we're going to be pulling our leg up into this, what we would call a king or mermaid pose in some of these positions. So we can really get into the quad and then also the psoas, the front hip flexor area. So make sure you have this guy looped up, and I'll show you how to use it. Just place it towards the side here where you can easily grab it if you need to. We may not need it here, but we may. So let's go ahead and walk over, bringing our thighs, so the top of our thighs right onto our bolster. So we're going to come into this, and make sure that your blanket is going to be underneath your forearms. You're going to come into a sphinx pose here. So sphinx is thighs usually are on the floor. We have our legs, just our toes, we're rooting down through the shins, rooting down through the quads. Toes are pointing back. We usually have our feet closer together, so we're going to try to do that. Of course, they're elevated here, so if you like, you can curl your toes under. It doesn't really matter here. Forearms are going to be down on our blanket, so it's nice and soft here. Make sure that your little elbows are not flared out to the side or up forward. We want to have them pretty much under the shoulders here, so a nice support system for our bodies. And then shoulders are not hunching up, right? We want to pull them down, create space in the neck here. And we'll work around this and see what works for you. So if you see we have this space right here, so if you're pregnant like I am right now, you could do this. You don't have to be pregnant to do this, but if you are and you are doing this, you'll notice it's just your baby's just pulling you down. And if you're not pregnant, you'll notice a little dip in your back. So we're just gonna really engage and lift our bellies up. So pulling up just a little bit towards the spine. So we're not going into, any major core, which we could, but we're not going to do that right now. We just want to keep a little engaging in the belly just to lift up here, and then keep pulling that tailbone down. So you want to pull the tailbone, think of lengthening the tailbone down. Okay, so really important when we do anything that stretches the front body, we can collapse in the back body, especially that lower back. So we have to be careful and make sure we engage that just a little bit, so that way then, and elongate that way, then we're not just, hurting one area while we're trying to stretch the other area. Really important. So engaging muscles is very important. Even though we're going into an opening soft yin pose, we still have to use some muscles here. So, all right, make sure you have your strap next to you just in case you need it. I'll show you how to use it. Maybe you don't for this. This one, maybe not, but okay, so your forearms are on the floor here. We're going to take a deep breath. Think of pulling your shoulders down, creating that space. Make sure your neck feels stretched out here. So maybe you can draw one ear to one side and then switch it. So just creating a little bit of energy buildup in that neck, a little awareness of how your neck's feeling here. Always staying conscious that we're not crunching in this area, okay? Very important. So let's take a breath here. And then we're gonna bend at the knee with our left foot, and we're gonna bring that heel towards our glute. So again, as we begin to do this, you'll notice your belly may go collapse. So let's keep that lifted. If it feels a lot of tension on the quad, or even if you're really tight in the quads like I am, I feel it in my knee a little bit. So you could always back up a little bit here. So also too, what you can do is press into your right forearm. So you want to adjust it so it's about centered here in your chest. That way then you're not going to hurt yourself. And then you can take your strap and then just bring that loop to your ankle area. So you can bring it right to your ankle, and then you can just bring that strap with you and hold that. If you can see how I'm doing this. So I looped it around my ankle, not my foot, but the ankle area, and then my strap is just coming under my arm, and I'm right back on my forearm. So you can do this. This is really nice. In fact, why don't you try doing this if you have your strap? This is beautiful. It feels good, and you're able to keep your security in your front body here. So you can just pull on your strap, and then as time goes on, you feel like, hey, I can go a little deeper. You can just pull your strap forward. So it's really nice. Now, so another thing is this knee is going to try to creep up to the side on you. So what we want to do is try to keep this knee pulling in so it's energizing straight back. Again, pull that tailbone down, lengthen that lower back. And if you need to loosen up on the strap, this is why it's nice to have the strap here, you can. So just relax here. You don't have to point the toes here. You can have it relaxed. And then we're just gonna press into our forearms. Again, engaging the belly just a little bit. Think of pressing the sacrum into the body just a little bit here. So just a little engagement in the glutes. You can let your head be heavy. Keep pulling your shoulders down. Again, now we're in the stretch here, just checking in with yourself. Do you feel tension anywhere maybe that you're not supposed to be using right now? So my arms feel a little tension. Do you feel pain anywhere? And if you do, just take notice of it. Maybe back off a little bit if you need to. So knowing when it's time to go deeper and when it's not time to go deeper. So just not attaching to that mindset of I have to, right? I think I should be doing this. This is what it ought to be. This is what I know I can do. And just noticing what you're able to do in this moment. In life, everything is always ever changing. So adapting to that change and knowing when we need to just back off a little bit and just accepting for things for what they are. So accepting your body for what it is right now, what it can give you. And keep pulling that knee in. Try to keep that heel behind your glutes, not letting that heel go out to the side either. And just breathing into the tension, maybe in that quad, at the top of the quad, maybe you feel it at the bottom closer to the knee. That's where I feel it. We're all different. And just noticing those tensions, those discomforts maybe that you're going to feel right now, and just allowing it to settle, right? So allowing everything to come up, and then you notice it. Is there anything that you can do to fix it? Is it worth it to fix it? Or is it better if you can let that go right now? Is it safe? Is number one. Is it going to cause any pain? If so, maybe back off a little bit. Maybe move. Adjust yourself. If it's just a little discomfort, how can we relieve that discomfort? How can we take our mind away from that and allow ourselves to go deeper? Allow our bodies to release and relax. Because what happens is when we start thinking pain, or not pain, but discomfort, then we tighten up and we don't allow for that stretch to happen. And this happens when we try to force something. So when we push ourselves to do something as well. And so the best thing that we can do is notice it. And ask, is this something that's going to cause me a problem? Is it causing any pain? Adjust yourself if so. If not, you know that this is just uncomfortable, or, maybe a position you just don't like. What can you do to allow your body to soften and open up to this pose, to go deeper into the stretch? And it's about noticing what your body can do, so without causing pain, what is your body able to do in this moment? And then allowing your body just to relax into it, to soften into it. And I guarantee you this is going to allow for so much more depth. Your body will surrender. It will go a little bit deeper, relax, and then pretty soon you'll see growth and you'll be able to go deeper into a stretch. Or your body will hang on to that stretch. It won't clench right back. All right, let's switch sides. So carefully, you can bring your leg down. So be really careful when you go into these deep stretches. I always advise people to come out very slowly. Engaging the muscle or coming out really quickly, not good, because that muscle has been completely stretched. So Any type of yin, you want to be careful with doing any type of active muscle stuff after. So even for a couple days. So let's do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to grab our strap, bring it to the front, take a breath. You'll notice maybe a sensation in that leg right now. I feel cooling. Maybe you feel heating. Maybe you feel cooling as well. Maybe you feel just relief that you're out of it, whatever it may be. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So walk that left arm in just a little bit so it's a little bit more center of the chest. Then you can turn, bend at that right knee, bring that heel in, and go ahead and bring that strap around the ankle. And then you can just bring it under the arm and then come forward. Get your upper body in line here so elbows are under the shoulders. And then you can bring that right knee in and begin to pull that heel in towards you just a little bit here. Again, lifting the belly, think of elongating the tailbone a little bit here. And keep breathing. These full breaths here. You can let the back of the head be heavy. How can you surrender? How can you create softness in this pose? And space. Remember, the inhale is to notice the tensions, almost like flushing it. So we're drawing that energy to that space. And then the exhale is allowing it to soften and relax. So utilizing the breath to create this feeling of, as I said before, detoxifying, creating that space to allow you to go a little deeper, to grow, to release tensions in the mind as well. Checking in, are those thoughts still popping up? Are we creating new thoughts of frustration? That's okay. What can we do to let that just pass by? To not judge ourselves for having these thoughts. Not get angry or not try to push them away or shame ourselves for having them. How can we let that pass by? Keep the breath going. Here's a mantra that I like to repeat in my head. Sometimes it's helpful to have these little sayings. There's a couple of them I like, but one is, I have nowhere to go, I have nowhere to be, I have nothing to do except focus on me. And it's just really nice to allow yourself that time, because if you want to just always be giving or always be doing and always be providing or whatever it may be, going, thinking, it's going to weigh on you. And if you have so much to do and give and think about, then you're worth a lot. You have a lot of things that you have to be doing. So know that it's so important to take care of yourself. More important if you have so many things to do. You have got to find time in your schedule to be still. It's important for everybody. Everyone needs to take this time. Even if you don't have a ton of stuff to do, we always have something to do. We always have someone to love, something to grow within. And so it's really important to take that time for a little self-inquiry and just really stop and listen to yourself. If you can't do it throughout the day, then to take this time, especially, an hour, 20 minutes, even 5 minutes to focus on breathing, just to check in with yourself. The more we're thinking, the more we're doing, the more space that is filled with stuff. And if we don't take that time to free up some space, we'll eventually just have nothing to give anymore. Maybe you notice you can go a little bit deeper. Maybe you can pull your heel in just a little bit more. Keep your belly just engaged just a little bit here. Remember, shoulders down. Keep that breath going. Let's take a couple more breaths here. All right, and then again, very carefully, we're going to release the strap. You can even let it slide down your hand. And then let's come up very, very slowly. So you can bring actually your knees onto your bolster. This feels really beautiful. Get my strap off my leg. Okay, so you can bring your knees onto your bolster and then just bring your arms in front of you. So just a little puppy dog pose. So you can create space here. Open your knees up. You can bring your toes to touch too. And let your shoulders just come forward because we were on the shoulders for a little bit, those elbows and forearms. So let those stretch out a little bit here too. You can wag your hips side to side, just engaging the hip flexors just a little bit, the hips. Almost more of a massage-like motion. Let the heart drop a little bit. And let your forehead just soften into your blanket here. This feels so nice. One more deep breath and let everything go. Okay. So let's now come into we're actually going to come into a lunge pose. So you can come into tabletop as I am in right now. And then what we're going to do is bring our right leg just out to the front. So lunge it carefully. So just make your way up to the top here. So it's going to be on the right side of your hand. So you can come to the side of your blanket if you like, or right behind your blanket. That's perfectly fine. We just want to make sure the knee is either over the heel or behind the heel a little bit. And then we're just going to carefully bring ourselves up. So we're just going to come up just a little bit here. Walk that foot forward if you need to. Take a full breath in here. Nice and strong with the glute. Just pulling the glute. Think of pulling and pressing that sacrum into the body. So the sacrum is that little diamond-shaped bone at the base of the spine. Think of pulling that into the body, and then we're pulling our front body back. So we're really opening this whole front hip flexor in the left side here. And then we're stabilizing on that right heel, right? So we want to pull that right hip back just a little bit. We want to keep these hip bones just level to the front of the mat. And then nice and tall here. Think of engaging your belly a little bit. If you're pregnant, lifting baby up and in. And then we want to just pull that right heel back just a little bit. And what that does is it just pulls that hip back and really opens up that hip flexor a little bit more. Keep pulling the tailbone down, so lengthening it down towards the floor here, towards your bolster. Take a full breath here. You can have your hands on your front thigh if you'd like. We're just going to sink down a little bit deeper here. Make sure your knee and your toes are pointed same direction. So if your foot's out to the side a little bit to avoid your blanket, your knee is going to come out just a little bit to the right. So make sure that you lift your toes up and then make sure they're going the same direction. So rule of thumb, you always want your knees and your toes. Your knee to point is the same direction as your second big toe, so the toes next to your big toe. Again, keep pulling the sacrum into the body. Think of pulling the legs in towards each other, so you're kind of dragging that left knee in a little bit, and then pulling that right heel in just a little. These are very soft movements. Don't think of a total crazy engagement here. We're not trying to build a ton of strength. We're just trying to find some support and that alignment to really open that front hip flexor without destroying anything in the process. So think of the hips coming in, taking a breath, checking in with your body. Shoulders are down. Don't forget the upper body. You want to keep some space in the upper body here, so we want to pull the shoulders down, create space in the neck. Where can you focus on that in these tight, like strengthening exercise or supporting exercises? Where can we find some softness here? Are we going to sit and just focus on the tension? Maybe you're feeling it here in the hip flexor, or maybe the strength of that right leg, or can we just find that alignment and that strength and try to focus on what can soften here? So the shoulders can soften, The hip flexor can soften so you can relax that quad. Think of the glutes are kind of pulling in here, so they're doing a little bit more work. Allow this to be open. Allow the neck to be open. Allow the mind to soften here. Full breath in. Find that stability. Maybe you close your eyes. Maybe you don't. It's okay if you don't. And you find your drishti, that focal point. Helps you stay focused and stay balanced here. Letting your front ribs just soften into the body. We're not going to push the heart out here. Remember, we want to avoid dipping into the lower back. One more full breath in, and then exhale. Okay, so tipping from the hips here, hinging from the hips. Let's bring our hands right back down to the floor. And then let's walk that right foot just out to the side. So you can't see it, maybe you can see it, but my foot's walking out to the side. Again, my knee is pointing out. So I want my toes to point the same direction. My blocks here. And then what we do is we want to press into the heel and just lift the toes up, and you can just move them so they're pointing the same direction. You can also keep your toes peeled up off the floor. We're going to heel toe that back leg back a little bit further here, and then come down onto, again, our forearm. So our forearm, the left forearm this time. We're going to twist, make sure you have your little strap. We're going to twist towards the right side here, and then we're going to grab our little loop, bend at that left knee, loop this around your ankle if you can reach it. Hopefully you can, around that left ankle. And then you can have your hands pointed towards your towards your right foot. And that way then you can just press down onto your forearm here. Make sure you're on your blanket. And again, you're just going to pull that with the strap. Pull that left heel in towards your glute. Now this could be just a little teeny tiny movement. You don't necessarily have to pull it in too far. So full deep breath in and exhale. So we're using a little bit of strength here. Stay with me. Again, keep pulling your belly up and in just a little bit. Try to relax that quad, that left quad. Stay strong in that left arm. Keep the breath going. You can let your head be heavy here. And make sure that elbow is right under the shoulder. I'm using my right hand too to kind of support me and help me stay up here. And maybe you notice you're lightening up a little bit. You can pull that strap just to go a little bit deeper into the stretch. Again, keep pulling your tailbone down, just creating a little space in that lower back. A few more breaths here. Stay with me. And let that breath take you to those tensions. Let that exhale allow you space to grow, to soften. And let's relax very slowly that left leg down. And then we're just going to carefully press into the right hand, bring that left hand back up. And then you can heel toe that right foot back in, curl the back toes to start to bring that left leg back in. It's a little tricky one to get in and out of. And then you can very carefully come back to unstrap yourself. So just pulling the strap out, maybe bring it to the front. Let's press into the hands and bring that right knee right back to the bolster. So again, let your arms just kind of collapse forward here. We're not pressing into the arms, we're stretching the shoulders out. And exhale. Okay, let's come back up. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's bring that left foot to the outside of your blanket here. And take a full breath. Make sure your knee is above or behind the heel here. And then we're just going to come up to fingertips and very carefully press into that front heel, or you can use your thigh to get yourself up here. So full breath in. Make sure toes and knee pointing same direction. Just align yourself again, lengthen the tailbone. So we want to pull the sacrum into the body, and the front body we're lifting in. So we're pulling everything together, like sandwiching everything together. We're going to lift those front hip flexors. So these front hip bones, we're going to lift the front hip bones up. So we get a deeper stretch in that front hip flexor. And then we're going to engage that left heel, pulling it back just a little bit to pull this left hip back, right? So feel like your hips are pulling in, creating that center of stability. And let that right quad begin to soften. Take a breath. Maybe you sink down a little bit lower, being careful your knee doesn't fall over the heel. If you need to walk that foot up a little bit further, go for it. And again, noticing sensations of tension. How can you soften here? How's the mind going? And just meeting these thoughts that arise and seeing if you can find some happiness. So instead of approaching these thoughts maybe that keep popping up with frustration or why do they keep coming back, or just passing by, constantly passing by, and you're just like, why does this thought keep passing by? I keep seeing the same thought. Maybe approach it with a different outlook. Maybe try to focus on, what does this thought mean? Is it something that I can accept, even though I may disagree with it? Is it something that is really going to hurt me, harm me? Okay, so if so, then we need to do something about that. Maybe release it from your life, right? If anything's going to hurt you or harm you. Under our hands, and then let's walk that left foot out to the side. So we're going to do our little lizard pose. Let's bring that right knee back so our thigh is on the bolster. And then again, have your strap close by. Come down to your forearms maybe here. You can lift the toes up and then just have them out to the side just a little bit. You can bring that foot out to the side as much as you need to. Let's bend that right knee to bring that heel in, and then we're just gonna loop this around again the ankle. So find your ankle. Careful when you do it. You can always throw the strap over like you're roping a cow, and then bring that strap in. So we're still turning to the left side here. So what I do is grab the strap in my right hand. My forearm is now directly under me. My hand's pointed towards this left foot. And then I'm going to use my left hand just to kind of prop myself up here. So keep pulling that shoulder down and then just bend. Let that right hip flexor open up here. Keep breathing. So a twisting lizard king, if you will, with that leg up in the back. Is this thing that keeps popping up, is it something that you can accept? Is it something that we can maybe find a way to look at it in a different sense and just appreciate what it is for what it is, even though we may not agree with it? Or is it something that we can forgive and move on? If we hang on to this thing and it keeps coming up and we don't do anything about it, it can linger, and it can always just come up and come up and come up, and it can almost haunt us. So allowing it to come up, allowing it to pass until we're ready to come back at it and see, is something, one, that we can accept? Is it something that we can forgive? Or is it even important, right? If it's not important, then maybe consciously finding a way to let that go completely. So just a few things here to think about. If it's something maybe that happened that's a loss of some sort, just know it's okay to grieve. It's fine to have emotions around it. It's fine. You have to go through that. You know, vent, grieve, be sad, be angry. But the longer we feel that way, the longer we feel like there's just this box around us and we're not able to get past that. We're not able to live and love the people around us and love ourselves. So eventually we have to find a way to move past that. All right, let's release very carefully that left strap. This is really hard to do, so very carefully let that leg fall. Let's come back up to the hands and then heel toe that left foot in. Oh, this feels nice. Okay, so we're gonna bring that right knee straight back, right onto the bolster, right into tabletop here. Let your hips just sway side to side. Just for a second, you can roll them around in little rotations here. So just creating a circle. Even with your shoulders, it just feels really nice just to kind of lubricate the joints. They've been all stiff here for a little bit. And then go the opposite way. Just moving everything around. And then again, if you'd like, you can come right back to your little puppy pose here. Let your arms be out in front of you. Let your forehead come right down to the blanket. Knees on the bolster still. Just surrender here. I know you're still upright, so finding that balance, don't tip over, but just surrendering. Letting your head, letting gravity just let everything just kind of come down right now. Feel the earth support you. And you always have support. Okay, let's come right back up. All right. Let's move those hips around for a second, one more time here. And then we are going to come in for our Garudasana. So let's press actually into the hands, and then we're just gonna lift the hips up. Let's just do one down dog here. So you can walk back, all the way back to your bolster, and then let your head just fall onto the bolster here. So again, we wanna create a nice straight line in our arms all the way through our side body. So keep your spine nice and neutral here. If you feel like you're rounding, just bend the legs. Keep the shoulders pulling out and back. Keep the length in the neck. Let those heels be soft, so let them maybe move up and down a few times. Stretch out the hamstrings. Legs have been bent, so it feels nice just to open those up a little bit. Full breath in. Let everything go. So you can move your bolster just off to the side here. And then I'm going to have you lift your hips up nice and high. And then we're going to bring our left leg just to cross. So the knee is going to cross in front of the right knee. And then we're just going to come all the way down, bringing both knees to the floor. Bring that right foot just out to the side. And then we're going to begin to come back, sitting into our Garudasana. So I'm going to turn just so you can see me and see how to set this up. So this is wonderful little hip flexor stretch, although it could be not as approachable for a lot of people, so it's really hard. So let me show you a few things that you can do. Your heels are out to the side, but they're close to the side of the glute here, so the side of the hip. All right, knees, you want them to be stacked. If there's space here or it feels like they're just not, there's this one's hurting, it's on the floor and there's a lot of pressure, you can bring your blanket right underneath the bottom knee. If it feels like you still have a lot of space, you can always bring a block in between the knee, or use that block on the blanket and just kind of stabilize that top knee up a little bit. Okay, if you're not having issues with the bottom one, you can always just place the blanket in between the two knees. All right, just to kind of fill that space there. If this is just like, oh no, Jade, I'm not doing this, you can always extend the right one straight in front of you and just have this left one over the top here. And what you want to do is just apply a little bit of pressure. Just really make sure that that heel is out to the side here of that right glute. So you want to try to get that knee over top of the thigh, the right thigh, if you have it like this. So whichever position you're in, just make sure that you feel comfortable in this position. If you're in a full Garudasana, make sure the knees are stacked. You can fill the spaces. Take a full breath in, sit up nice and tall no matter where you are. Just nice, full, lengthening inhales. And releasing exhales. And where can you soften again? Your shoulders clenching up on you. Can you bring them down a little bit here? Maybe, just maybe, you can do a couple things here. You can grab your block and place it on top and let your forehead just come down to your block. Although that could be a little unstable, so if that doesn't feel good to you, just depending on where you are, you can also grab your bolster. Maybe you have a little bit more space. You can grab your bolster and you can just bring your forearms onto your bolster and then allow that bolster and the forearms just to put a little bit of pressure on your legs. You can also just bring your forearms, so hands are clasping here, and then my forearms are here on top of the bolster. If you're not feeling a stretch, you can always walk your heels out to the side just a little bit further. She's on the wrong blanket, of course. Oh, River. Okay, so you can bring the heels just out a little bit further to open the hips up a little bit more, and that'll go a little bit deeper. And if you're pregnant, don't think of going the deepest that you can go. Think of finding stabilization. Think of finding a relaxing pose. We don't want to push ourselves when we're pregnant. If you're not pregnant, you could do as you please. Just be careful you're not hurting yourself. So make sure that you find a little bit of ability to get comfortable in this position. So there will be discomfort always in yin. You're going to find some discomfort. But there's that difference between pain, if it feels like it's going to harm you or you just can't relax into something, then that means it's wise to back off just a little bit. So listening to your body, always paying close attention, being very conscious of the presence, your body, the feelings, the way your mind is. Even when you're thinking, when these thoughts arise, is there tensions that pop up in the body? So when you have a thought that keeps coming back, do you notice something that tightens up? Draw that attention there. Just check in. See if that thought pops back up. And then see if there's something that gets tight here. So here in Garudasana, it's a cow interlaced pose or cow faced legs, right? My thighs would get really tense. Even I'm thinking, I'm too tight. I can't do this pose, or, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'll notice everything's super tense and tight. Or if I'm frustrated at River for being on my blanket, I get tight somewhere. As my forehead just gets all clenched up. So what can I relax right now? And you'll notice that when you relax, you feel so much more freedom, you feel better, you feel released, and you feel like you can grow in some sense. So you can go a little bit further, and that tension doesn't do anything to sit here and to be angry. What can I do? Is it really making me unhappy to have River here? No, it's okay. It's annoying because she's hairy and she's going to get hair on my blanket. It's okay. I love her. I'd rather her be sitting here and she's happy. If I don't like it, I can ask her to move. I can shoo her away, whatever it is. I can accept that she's there. And it's important to me that she's there and she's happy. So just noticing what creates these tightnesses, and then try to relax and then come back to that thing maybe and allow, or if it pops up to you again, coming at it again with this clear sense of a little bit more clarity, a little bit more like clear-headed, better positive feeling. And so you can approach it and look at it in a different sense. And if it's still something that bothers you, what can you do about it? And, if there's things that you can't do about it or you don't want to do about it, then you kind of work from there. So that's the best way to handle these thoughts, these things that pop up. Oh, she's back again. See? She just wants the heavy blanket. All right, so take a couple more breaths here. All right, so you may have a whole scheme of things on you. So I'm going to remove my bolster. You go ahead and start removing items one by one. And then if you have your blanket, you can take your blanket out. If you had your block, remove the block, move it to the side. We're going to come back down to our down dog. So if you had both legs undone or even just one leg underneath, extended out, just very carefully lift. Use your arms to lift that top foot, bring it out to the side. We're going to lift or drag that bottom foot out to the side so knees are up. And then I'm just going to let my knees fall in towards each other, and I can just come back to my hands right now just for a second. So just take a breath, open the chest, open the heart, collarbone, just pull the shoulders back, pull the shoulder blades down the back. Allow your heart to lift. Allow that space in the neck. You can draw one ear to one shoulder and then switch it. Let the legs be soft here so they're collapsed in together. I call this fallen bridge with the legs. Okay, we're going to switch sides. So let's carefully bring ourselves right back to our down dog. So press to stretch the legs out a little bit here. Press into the hands, bend the knees a little bit, stretch those hips up and back. Feel a nice stretch, deep stretch in the legs, the calves. You can bounce the heels up and down. Take a few breaths here. And then you can bring your left foot in just a little bit. We're going to cross now the right foot over top. We're going to cross the right knee over top the left knee and then bring both knees down. Now you can bring that left foot out to the side, and then we're just going to bring our sitting bones down to the floor. So again, I'm going to turn just so you can see me. Actually, maybe I'll stay sideways so you can see me sideways if you'd like. You don't have to look at me at all, but just options. So now bottom leg would be straight. Try to mirror what you did on the opposite side, and then you really want to pull that right heel all the way to the left glute, and then sit up nice and tall. Make sure you're grounding down evenly on both sitting bones, and then allow your leg to be soft so you can allow a bit of pressure on that front knee. Okay, if you're going for a full Garudasana, make sure that your left heel is alongside the right hip, and then same thing, the right heel is alongside the left hip. So you can pull them out to the side if you need to. Grab your goodies. You can throw your blanket. I can't grab mine, but you can throw your blanket in between the bottom, the middle, whatever feels comfortable for you. You can use your blocks. Just try to mirror what you did before. And you may notice that one side is totally different than the other side, and just accepting that for what it is. It's natural. It's common. It's okay. It's totally fine for that to happen. We're here to work with it and let it grow, not get upset with it and let it stay stagnant. So we don't want it to shrink and get worse, right? So we want to allow it to grow. So come at it with love. Oh, I see. This side is tighter. Okay, what can I do about this? All right, well, we're just going to modify according to that. Grab your bolster, or if you had a block on the top, you can lay a block on the top, and then we're just going to come into this nice pose where we're able to just sit with it. Take a nice full breath into the body and exhale. Noticing if you're tensing in the face, maybe the traps are lifting. The traps are the muscle right below the neck here, and they go along the back, so they wrap down the back too. And they tend to get really tense. So just allowing those to soften, allowing them to go down with gravity. Think of lifting up through the spine, creating the space in the spine. Make sure you're rooting down with both sit bones, so both of your booty bones are sitting down. One's not lifted up, so adjust yourself as needed to do that. Maybe you come back to that mantra, whatever that is to you. It could be something like, I'm free, or I'm spacious, or I will work on me, or let go of fears, let go of tensions, whatever it is. Just to repeat to yourself, a reminder, just like the breath, always to come back to it. It's easy to learn something, do something, but until we can create this positive pattern, habitual pattern, we tend to revert right back to the old ones, or we forget. So repeating things, going back to them, positive habits, so they become natural instinct, right? Second nature. But until then, we need these reminders. Even when they do become second nature, we still need to have something that we can go back to, because everything doesn't just become wonderful, right? We always get stuck in something. So just having something that you can rely on to take you back to that vision, that feeling of peaceful, that freedom, clarity, spacious, whatever that may be, happiness. You notice when we hang on to things, that limits us from these possibilities of feeling good, moving forward, growth, allowing good things to come, new paths, positive paths. When we stick to the old paths that maybe we're used to, they feel good. We're not allowing this new growth, this new path to blossom. So just remember, you need something sometimes just to remind you, just to take you there. Keep breathing. Let's take a few more breaths here. Now your legs tensing up still. There's always something that's trying to tighten up on you. Okay, and then very carefully begin to unravel yourself with your props. And then we're just going to come carefully out of our position. So feet wide on the mat, drag your foot in or unweave yourself here. And again, we're just going to bring our hands back, open the collarbone, open the chest, take a full breath, deep full inhale. This time, let's just swither the knees. I don't know if swither is a word. It's a word I use, but we're just going to let them float side to side. Organically, just falling from side to side here. Letting your hips open. It's almost like a massage to the hip flexors. All right, and then let's come back to neutral. Let's lay all the way down. So if you'd like, you can grab your bolster here and lay on your bolster. If you're pregnant, we're not going to be here for very long, so you should be fine. We're also too going to be moving onto our side a little bit here, so you should be safe. But if you'd like to use your bolster, you can just relax back onto your bolster. Take a deep breath. Let's have our knees a little bit wider, so feet on the floor, knees are pointed up here. Take a breath. Let your hands just come out to the side. You can have them up, you can have them down. It doesn't matter to me. It's just all whatever feels good to you. Deep full breath in, and then we're just going to let the knees, like we just did, fall to the side. And then use your heel. So if you're falling to the left side, you want to use the bottom heel and bring it to the top of the thigh above the knee. And let that weight of that heel just kind of hold you down here. If you'd like, you can grab a block and then place it underneath that top knee that's floating here. You can extend your arms out to the side. You could always look the opposite direction. And being careful not to force here. So we're not trying to control this pose. Again, we don't want to try to grip onto it, make it happen, do what we think it should be doing. Just noticing what it's doing, allowing it to grow as it needs to, as it wants to, meeting it where it is. Letting gravity just take over here. A couple more breaths. It's a little detoxifying twist, supine twist. Noticing, are you clenching your legs, your calves here, your traps, shoulders, anything you're still hanging on to or that pops up. In every direction we move, there's always that possibility for something to tighten up. Always being conscious, being aware, and checking in. Being present to notice what comes up. And allowing it to soften on its own without you forcing it. All we can do is just relax. Allow that tension to kind of fade away on its own. All right, let's bring the knees back up so you can bring that top heel off. You can use your block, and let's just go to the other side. So feet are wide, and we're going to let the knees just fall now and collapse to the right side just with gravity. We're not going to force them over. Let's bring that bottom heel on top of the right thigh, so the side of the thigh, don't let it go onto the knee. We want to be careful of that. You can bring the block under the floating knee just to help support it here. Take a breath. Noticing how the body's feeling now. Do you feel more cooling sensations? Can you look in and see space? You turn that third eye in and see within yourself and see a little bit more flow, maybe not as much blockage in the body. Where did you feel tensions, and can you see past it now? Do you feel more ease? Do you feel maybe worse? Hopefully not. If you do, why? Where? Just noticing it. Taking a few more breaths here. Very carefully move your block if you used a block, and then lift your top heel again. Let your knees fall in together. So fall and bridge here. Take a full breath, and then exhale. And then let's walk the feet in. So they're going to be closer together, about hip distance apart, and then pull them in so they're closer to your glutes here. Make sure you have your block close by. You're fine to be on top of your bolster here. If you're not, that's fine too. We're going to press into the feet, lift the hips up. So take a breath. Think of tilting. So we're going to pull those hip bones up towards the face, pull the tailbone down, and then let's grab our block, and then let's just bring our block under us. So we want to be not on the tallest setting, but we want to be on a setting that allows us to feel a little open in the quads here. And then just relax it. So it's going to be underneath your sacrum. It's going to be underneath that little triangle bone. And then you can let your hands just fall to the side. You can have them on your belly. Think of pulling the knees in so they stay in line, because they're going to want to fall out to the side. So you want to just keep them contracted in a little bit using your inner thighs. Just a touch here, just to keep them pointing in line with your thighs here. Just take a breath. Notice your face. Can you relax anything else in your face? Your jaw. Let your jaw be heavy. Maybe your tongue. Just let it feel some space in there. Let it detach from the roof of the mouth. Can You let your cheeks be heavy here, almost as though it's melting off your skull. Just completely surrender to gravity here, except for your knees. You want to keep your knees in line, but everything else we just want to soften. Keep pressing into the feet. And remember, keep that sacrum pulling down. Everything in here we want to relax. Maybe finding some love within yourself. Maybe you bring your hands to your heart. You notice your heart beating. And just know that taking this time for you only allows your heart to beat just a little bit deeper. So it allows that feeling of love to grow just a little bit more for yourself, for those around you. Taking this time for you only helps off the mat. Take one more full breath in, and then exhale. Carefully press into the feet, lift the sacrum. So again, pull the tailbone down and just remove the block, and carefully come all the way down. And then you can roll yourself up very slowly, and then come to a seated, easy seated pose. Just for a second, let your knees come out to the side. Open your hips up for just a sec here. You can have your hands on your thighs. And just sit up nice and tall. Just take one full inhale and exhale. Again, another full inhale. And let it go. Exhale. Just going to close out with the sound of Om, the sound of silence. So another, like a mantra, just knowing that you have the sound within you, always humming within you, the sound of clarity, the sound of centering, the sound of the universe, always there, this vibration, this pulsation within inside of you of peace. So it's always there. You just have to sometimes listen for it. So if you like, you can do it with me. Bring your hands right to Anjali, right to your heart. Take a full deep inhale, and then we're going to go Om together. So deep full breath in, and thank you for doing this cleansing little yin style yoga. I hope that your front hip flexors feel a little bit more open and you feel a little bit more clear or lighter today. So try doing this, like I said, a few times a week if you can. It's beautiful. It takes time. You could always speed it up, but you will feel a lot better, I promise you. Namaste.